What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of All You Can Eat Warriors. We are back and back in a big way. Round 11, got massive things to talk about. But welcome back, my man Ash. How you feeling, man? Good to see you again. And yeah, hope you've been well.
Yeah, brother, all been well, bro, over here in Australia. Obviously, it's so good just to continue rolling here off of a positive win. You know, even so be it being close or whatever, the Warriors just keep winning at the moment, which is great to see. So hopefully the boys can continue to keep it up and keep the spirits high because it's so good doing content when there's positivity around. When it's negative all the time, it gets tough, bro. It really does.
Yeah, no, it is, man. And like, there's heaps of exciting stuff, talking points to talk about. And like you bang on, you're saying, man, positivity is the best time to do content. And massive shout out to everyone in the chat, man. 47 of you guys at the moment and counting.
Ooh.
Big up everyone, all of the channel members and everyone that's coming through. It's great to see you guys. And yeah, hit that like and subscribe if you are new. But we appreciate you guys, man. Look, man, we'll hit the ground running and a lot of things happening. The NRL doesn't end. You got Jerome
No.
Luai's dad coming out with the activation clause. There was a few activation clauses in different parts of life. What do you make of some of that stuff? It's just off topic. Let's start with a little bit of NRL. I mean, crazy how impactful social media can be. That it's things like that. You do a little story on the side, and next minute you're on NRL 360.
Yeah.
What do you make of that, bro?
Bro, I feel for Jerome Luai in the situation, right? Obviously, Jerome has gave it his heart for the start of the season, right? He's obviously painted a picture of I wouldn't say painted a picture because it makes it out like he hasn't been trying to be the guy to lead the club and just be like, I'm staying solid, I'm staying with the team, especially with the Lockie Galvin news. And then after that loss over the weekend, his dad just to kind of throw that in everyone's faces, and then Luai's got to clean up all the mess, unfortunately. So, bro, just could you imagine, bro? Honestly, I'd be looking at dad, be like, "Why do you do this to me? Why do you do this to me?" Like, I'm sure
Bro,
that's probably you'd probably say it was for fun, right? I don't know. Maybe he was taking a joke, but like, bro, honestly, not where the Tigers need to be right now. They don't need any more media around them because this year they've already had too much media around them.
Hard up, bro. That's crazy. Yeah, take your phone off your parents, people.
Yeah.
Don't let them on socials, bro. No, but man, guys, like I was saying, there's heaps to talk about. That's just a little snippet. But guys, check in with Ash tomorrow. You got your show, your Down Unders. No doubt they'll have more on that situation. So go and subscribe to our bro Ash Thomas on YouTube. Check out that show tomorrow, Down Unders. No doubt it's going to be a big talking point and a few more things. But yeah, Buzz. I watched a little bit of Buzz and old Freight going at it over the cruise ships.
The Broncos,
it's just great. It's just perfect. This is what we live for as NRL fans, bro, as rugby league fans. So
rugby league heaven, bro. They're gonna try and make us news stories out of everything, bro. So it's just the way it is.
They do, bro. They do, bro. We'll be on NRL 360 in a few years' time, I bet you.
Get us on.
Positive TV channel has claimed that they blah 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 blah. Yeah. Great. There'll be a slow day. There'll be a slow news day. But man, like. Let's get to some positive, bro. This is, a massive congratulations to our boys. Obviously, you haven't had a chance. Maybe I'll actually let you have a chance to have your say after you've had some time to watch the game. But the consistency for me personally, the fight to winning the close games. Webby outlined that as well as an issue in 24. Now he's seeing 25. Metcalf stepping up, everyone chipping in, getting the results, and now we're sitting in second. Something I didn't at least predict, but we're in a strong second, in my opinion. But share your thoughts from the game, Ash. What would you make of that game, and how does it look for us overall as a team?
Oh, bro, like unreal. You know what I mean? Like Webby first year gangbusters. Everything was like perfection because we didn't have too much expectation, right? Second year, unfortunately, the downfall of the side, but you can kind of put together context to why the season happened the way it did. And obviously, when we're giving discussions on like, the Warriors coming to this season, I always continue to say, and I continue to say, it is a transition year. Like, this is so good to see that it's going so well right now. But I still believe it's a transition year. We haven't hit our peak. We haven't hit our potential. We're still moving towards that potential. And as you've seen by the wins that we've had for the last, 3 weeks or so, teams are starting to really come back on us. The last 2 weeks, obviously, the Cowboys and the Dragons. But we're getting it done through resilience and grit. And that's something that we kind of did miss and lack last year. We're playing as a team and a unit. And that's especially something we missed last year in moments, right? So it kind of did show that maybe last year there was a little bit something going on behind the scenes. We didn't really put too much into the Adam Fanor-Blake, news coming in preseason, Josh Curran moving, players being in and out due to injury. It just really hampered that season. But coming to this year, Lukey Metcalf stepping up in that 7 jersey. And I've been loving every part of his game. I want a little stat that I want to throw out to you. I was just trying to find it just then, but I'll go back to it another time. But on Rugby League Project, if you go check out our best winning percentage players, Luke Metcalf, the first, I think it was the first 10 or so, they're at 90 to 10%, 90 to 100%, obviously due to, them playing probably, let's say, 3-4 games maybe. Luke Metcalf right now at 35 games, I think he is for the Warriors at the moment. He's at 69% win rate as a Warriors half, bro.
He's done. Yeah, he is. That's a great point you bring up, man.
Unreal.
He's every time he's come and played, and he had those injury runs, but he had that great run with SJ in 2023. Had a great start with SJ, if you think about it, and then came back in the last bit, and it was a little bit too late by that point, and the season was over. But in general, he's been very, very good. And
another thing on that, it kind of shows that, Webby's dealt with now 3 different halves on the top of my head. I can't remember, 3 different players that have been in that 7 jersey. Tamade Martin, Sean Johnson, and Luke Metcalf, right? 2023, the best year of Sean Johnson's career, that a lot of people would say. I would say there's other, years that rival that year, but that was probably the most complete Sean Johnson we've ever seen. Year 2024 with a down year, that was probably one of the best Tamade Martin years that we've probably ever seen in that 7 jersey, right? With Shawnee being hampered with injury. Now we're going into Luke Metcalf. Luke Metcalf's now tied 3rd for Daly M this year, and he's really growing into that role. I don't want to put so much onto Luke Metcalf and say, he's going to be the guy, he's going to be the potential, but, we're showing that, Webby, when he gets his hands into certain guys, they play their best footy under Andrew Webster. It's not just the halfbacks, but, you can see it across the whole team. Mitch Barnett's playing the best footy of his career. Aaron Clark's now playing the best footy of his career. Everyone that seems to touch is turn to gold. So I got to credit the Warriors for what they've done to build the base up. They picked the right head coach. I think a lot of people would have said that maybe they randomized this and just, honestly, they got the golden ticket out of all the coaches that they picked out of the competition and come over. And he's what he's doing right now, I've been very, very happy with. Again, I understand we're getting close wins here. When, the Cowboys game, the Cowboys came back on us. The Dragons game, they came back on us. But if you look at the whole league as in general, we saw the Cowboys almost come back and beat the Panthers the other night. I know the Panthers haven't been going too gangbusters this year, but, there's discussions. I think we had that many comeback wins over the weekend as well. The resilience for the Warriors to hold that out should be a little bit more of a positive than what a lot of people probably would be giving credit for. And I'll just credit to the boys for what they're doing and instilling this belief and love for the jersey. Seeing Bunty Afar after the game with a screwed knee, bouncing up and down with a whole new chant, bro. And he's just the boys are getting behind him. They all.
He really got an injury.
Oh, bro, I was questioning that too. I was like, what's wrong with his knee? How good, man, bro. I'm so happy to be a Warriors fan right now.
Very hard out. I want to just acknowledge HQ here and big up Waz HQ. I hope we play a full 80 minutes. I kind of get the feeling as I'm thinking about the NRL and the trends and big talking points over the weekend was these teams coming back and momentum is hard to stop. Do you think that actually we are playing a full 80, but there's just parts of the game you just cannot stop the opposition? Or is actually maybe HQ is actually right here, is actually that we're not actually playing a full 80?
Yeah, I'd make an argument to probably only 2 to 3 teams that are actually playing full 80-minute games this year, and they're at spots as well. So you look at the Melbourne Storm. they probably had they had that big smashing win over the Tigers over the weekend. That's an 80 minutes domination. You probably also say the Dogs, maybe that 80-minute game that they had against the Rabbitohs or the Sharkies. But they've even had games, with the Broncos where they've been completely flat. They started flat against the Canberra Raiders. So I kind of I don't hate it. I understand why people say it because I agree. You'd love to have a full 80 minutes of no heartache and no, we want to be professional and get out to these big leads. But just looking at the competition this year, I don't think we're going to see too much of like a team that is going to be an 80-minute performance type of side this year that the Penrith Panthers kind of were in those periods, right? So I think that's kind of a fallacy. It's good to see we're winning and we're finding the moments and the spots to win games. We got to continue to do that. But I also agree to you, Waz HQ, of the whole fact of like, we do need to kind of build on the back of, we can't be continuing to have these like real short games, these moments where it could go 50-50 either way. We need to start, finding other games too where we can blow teams out. But the Dragons, tough matchup. We know how tough it is to win over in Wynn Stadium. It's personally for Warriors. The Dragons coming off of a loss. Flano likes to get the teams back up of a loss the week after. So I think the boys did really well for a Dragons side that looked like it came back fairly strong towards the back half of the game.
Yeah, and it's a good question, HQ. It's something to think about. But it's crazy that you can think that you can actually just play 40 minutes of football and still win a game in the NRL. That's how powerful momentum can be. But we want to be able to show that progress, and you bring it up here against the points differential gets better. Yeah, we definitely want to be able to. I think we're piling points on in chunks, but we want to show. It's not for me. It's not. I don't really want to win by 40, although that would be great. I want to see consistent wins, 13 plus that type of thing. But I think we're doing quite well at the moment, personally.
100%. And there's a couple of factors to that, right? Like, so, some areas our goal kicking kind of would have pushed our push differential a little bit further out. But then again, that's going to swing by to by, right? But looking at both our losses, they've been two losses of our season. Like they're the only two losses we've had. The Raiders game, obviously we all know that's the first game of the season. We were trying to figure things out. The Melbourne Storm game, tough. That was a tough one. But that blew our points differential out even more in that sort of sense. So, I could say rosy-colored glass and say if we take away those ones, our points differential will be absolutely incredible, but it just doesn't happen that way. But if you look at the rest of the competition, I think that we're kind of sitting in a really nice place. We've found a really good style of football. We found our style. Where a lot of other teams are still trying to figure out what their style is. The Brisbane Broncos are in that phase at the moment where they're still trying to figure out what they are as a side. And I think we've figured out what we are and we can build off the back of that.
And this is a great point too, Daniel, that points differential can be highly skewed. You can score 60 points in one game and you look amazing, but you might have lost 5 games straight. But your points differential still... And even like I was looking at the points table last night, and defensively, the Knights are one of the best teams in the comp, but they can't score any points. So you've got this massive kind of it's hard to read sometimes, and don't take it with a grain of salt. Points differential, but for me, I think that the thing you want to see is consistent wins of 13 plus.
And another thing on that too is like when I was doing the stats, we'll see my stats a little bit later on in the show, guys. But when I was breaking down and crunching some numbers of just attack and defense and where teams are sitting in this competition. Like the West Tigers before the weekend, defensively, we're sitting in a really good place. That one whole game, that Melbourne Storm dry track, they should have been better, 100% hands up. But that's 64 points, I'm pretty sure they scored over the weekend. That blew their defense all the way out to now they're kind of back a pack, right? Where, you're looking at the start of the season before that Melbourne game, you're going, the Tigers, man, they're competing on everything. And then after that stat, when you look at stats, you go, oh, maybe the Tigers are back to being the Tigers when, that one performance does sway that quite a different way. And we're round 11 now. That's still fairly early in the season in some senses as well. So stats can kind of sway different ways. I was talking with Brody with this again. It's like when you start looking at what's a soft draw and what's a hard draw this season, it's kind of hard to really base that when you see teams like the Panthers and that not going too well this year and kind of thinking of like, when did they kick back into gear or do they ever kick back into gear? So what's a soft draw? What's a hard draw? Every team looks great at the moment in moments. So how can you really take that, Yeah,
it's hard to read, bro. It's very hard to read. You got a really good point there, Ash. Look, and best start in our club's history, 7-2. We want to praise our boys. Like Webby for me, probably say Serraldo. Who did Serraldo win Coach of the Year last year? Who won it last year?
No. I can't remember if it was Craig Bellamy or Ivan Cleary, but I remember, he missed out last year.
Okay. Well, Serraldo's probably on track for Dally M Coach of the Year, but for what Webby's had to work with,
Yeah.
you got to say Webby's up there pound for pound too. So, like that, yeah, and in the best start of the season, Coach is doing amazing. Metcalf's shining. The halves are playing really well. Now, just checking, not to the negative side, but looking ahead, what are some of the pitfalls? What are some of the things that that we need to be aware? Maybe yourself, you can see around the corner. Oh, there's a bit of a cliffside here, or there's going to be a stop here, or a massive rock or a landfall or something like that. Can you see anything in the future from what you've seen in the comp? Maybe trends happening that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, I'll say that for me, it's just like looking at our backline and backline depth at the moment. It is getting tested really bad. It's great to see that we got Dallin back now. Roger comes back in this weekend, hopefully, with all going well. But, we obviously seen now where we're running Kurt Capewell in the centres, and albeit, like, I love seeing Kurt Capewell do a job out there, and he does a job out there, but to be competing week in, week out over time, we need both our young gun centres to be back and healthy, right? I think that we work ourselves really, really hard. And I think we'll pick up our fitness more to mid to late this season. But there will be a point that whether, it's really the question of, is Webby just juicing all this, like everything he can at the moment? And will it come to a point where we're going to see a lot more injuries to where that middle rotation too might kind of push out, and we're kind of like are going to be dealing with the boys falling off the pace due to how hard they've worked to start the year? That's really a question. But for me, I'm not too worried about that. For me, it's more of the fact of just holding consistency for a long period of time and just keeping our depth in our edge back, our back line as best as possible. Because we've already been tested at the moment. The more it kind of continues to get tested, that's where we're going to start, dropping certain games over time. And we're already seeing defensively sometimes when players get pulled out of our lineup, it takes a little bit before players kind of step up in those moments as well. So, for me, that's probably the areas where I'm looking at that I'm like, yeah, we can definitely improve in those areas. I think, Webby's done a good job of, Lecker's been starting the last couple of weeks. He's been incredible in that edge back role position. Has been a revelation in some areas as well. Just those center wings positions, we'd love to have Ali fresh and ready to go and Rocco fresh and ready to go.
Yeah.
And see how they play out. But that's where I'm at.
I mean, it's times like this, though, if you can bag the wins when you're a bit low, that back end when some of the guys start to come back is like exciting because you got a bit of freshness. You got that potential again. You're feeling like your back five is ready to go for another run, and you start to have a big kind of downhill run towards the end of the year, and the back end of the club looks really good. Like the run looks really good. So
yep.
I think if you bag as many wins as you can in this time frame, no doubt will help later on. That's how I kind of see it, and everyone's stepping up again. Tane, got to give him massive credit for his run that he's had, and a few others as well. But yeah, what you got there?
I think the only other thing too is like, I'll get to my statistics later on that, but I think the attacking side of things is we've seen moments of it clicking, which is great to see. And this is the time where it starts clicking into gear over time, right? And we don't want any injuries to really hamper our connection there and our halves and stuff, but that's the only other thing I could see is like our right side in moments just doesn't click as good as what our left side sweep does at times. There was moments last week against the Dragons where there was I think CNK had a 2-on-1 where if he gave it to Dal in the corner would have been looking really, really good. But I think CNK needs to find himself in attacking shape on that side, maybe a little bit better. And that would probably throw up the argument for a lot of people of whether Tane goes into that fullback position mid to late this year. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But that's the only other pitfall that I look at because I think defensively we've shown some really good signs. Our pressure's amazing. Like Phil Gould's come out and said that we're one of the hardest teams to play against this year because we've pressure sides, especially on our outside shape. So very, very good signs in that area. Just attack to make it a little bit more clinical at times. But when we're saying that, I feel like there's been moments these last couple of weeks where we've seen the shape really come together, look really crispy, and Luke Metcalf's kind of like found his role a little bit better too. So I think that will get better over time.
Do you agree with my theory? And something you've probably noticed, but I wanted to confirm that if you've seen it, that we like to trigger the 6 again first before going into a attacking shape. Do you agree with that? That Webby's kind of maybe brought that in as a philosophy. Let's trigger as many 6 agains as possible and let the attack kind of just happen as it naturally happens after fatigue.
Yeah,
that's something I noticed. But I wonder if you thought that.
Yeah, I'll say so because like when you start thinking like, what's the most lethal time to attack a defensive line? Is it like a broken defensive line off the back of like a set restart, let's say, or that's what makes
Yeah,
Wade Egan so good is like when he gets out of dummy half and he notices markers out of shape, or especially on the line, when he does those darts out of dummy half and to have that six again go again straight off the back of that team's trying to reset their line. That's usually why they give away six agains, is they're trying to reset their line. So you can definitely pull numbers in those moments, especially depending on what place you land on the field. And it's a cool point to to point out as well is playing off the back of broken defense is probably what Webby's kind of entailed, and that's why he's gone down his path of attacking six against and playing off the back of that.
Yeah, just something to be mindful of, guys, as you're watching. I think we might have the most triggered six against, or I can't remember if we have the least against us or the most for us. Yep. I can't remember what it was, but just when you're watching a game, you sort of just see, Egan activates it. They kind of know where the six agains are. I think they've done a bit of probably detail around that in terms of let's go and do this first, and then the rewards will come, and the rewards are so. That's great stuff. Look, I know this was a massive talking point. And I know a lot of fans are upset or concerned. Let's try our best to explain or what we think is. We obviously take us with a grain of salt as well. But for you personally, just quickly, when I was watching the game, I couldn't see anything massive from Dallon's defensive issues. But big up Wasta. Wasta was really calling it out and saying that there was, I think, on the stream, but. Have you had a chance to look back, and can you identify that he has some tendencies and is it maybe just an optics thing where it looks different to Tane, and Tane's been doing majority well, and maybe just Dallon's coming back in? What do you put it down to? You know what I mean?
Yeah, a couple of things, right? A couple of things I want to point out because I think it's a league issue in a sense too. Is when people see Shape get beaten like a defensive end on that outside. Majority of the time, I see a lot of people just go straight to the winger and their winger's decision of what happened and what caused that action. But people got to look a bit more towards the inside and how the middles are starting to number up, how teams are attacking to get those numbering, those separations right on their set. So teams usually these days, you got different points on the field where they like to attack from, right? So you got your left and right post, so you got your left and right tram line, and that opens up your 7-3 splits. You got your 5-5 splits. So a lot of time, if you want to be down the post, 6-4 splits, and so. A lot of what happens is misnumbering from the ruck in general to start with, depending on where your fullback positions in the ruck, and not pushing out early enough. So why I want to say that is people got to start looking inside of Dal to the reason why Dal makes those decisions in those moments. I had the same discussion when we played the Titans last year in 2024 with Rocco and the way Rocco defends. And Rocco's a great defender. He does so well to help out Shawnee on his inside. That the defensive mechanism for calling out a winger to dart in to cut down space is usually when that center gets beat on the outside, or usually when the half on that outside gets beaten and that center darts in, the winger darts in. That's how we defend our shape. That's how we've been defending for a long period of time. Tane's done exactly the same thing for a long period of time, and you hear people call it out all the time, but that's how we defend. So when when Dallon sees our centre either getting beat on numbers, which he has Kurt Capewell inside of him, that's not the quickest side-to-side mover, right? More than likely, the first action for a winger is cut down time and space, because the variables that throw up in the air with a guy passing a ball comparatively to a guy running with the ball is night and day. You know what I mean? Like, the reason why we got the best completion rate in the competition is because we lead the competition for the most one-out runs, right? It's not because we pass the ball 20, 30 times in a set, right? So what you want to force the team to do is make that pass to create the variables of a forward pass, a drop ball, or an error from the winger catching the ball and dropping the ball on the outside of that, of that shape, right? So you'd rather that than maybe Dal sitting out on his wing, that centre beating Kurt Capewell and getting caught on the inside, and a running threat that more than likely will create more of a problem later on than Dal cutting in that time. The one place I do agree with people is Dal does have a tendency at the moment to go for the intercept. And he's done that a couple of times, especially late in the game, and it's worked for him and it hasn't worked for him. That's the only downfall I do have with Dal. But I think that in the game that I watched over the weekend, There was a couple of times where I was like, Dal, you got to make the right decision there. But there is a reason why he's making a decision, is because there's a defensive breakdown in the middle that the wingers and centers are trying to cut in to defend that breakdown from the middle. So if people want to, we discussed this with Jordan Pereira earlier, ex-Broncos winger, was a Dragons winger. He knows defensive systems, and he was kind of explaining to us the way you defend shape and what causes a winger to cut in and cut off space. But people have got to change their mindset of when a team gets beats on the outside, don't blame the winger. That's our misnumbering from the middle. And a lot of times, if you actually go watch our shape, Martin Corder was getting caught in on the middle. He wasn't pushing our edge out quick enough. There was a time where Dylan Egan ran in between Metcalf and Martin Corder in that shape. And the later shape that came later on, Martin Corder got caught in on his man because Luciano Leilua was caught on Luke Metcalf. And that caused the shape to break down, caused Dal to come out. He's going to go for the big option. That's really what it is. The last point I want to give out to you guys is Dal's first game back.
Yeah.
We can't be too harsh on Dal first game back, where Tane's done a great job. Dal's going to take a little bit of time before he starts really finding himself and making those right decisions game in, game out. Because these are split seconds decisions. I know on TV it makes it look like a little bit longer of a time. But when he's just seeing his center getting beat on the outside, he's got to make that little decision. That's a quick second between the time of him going to do that or not. So allow him to have time to really find himself, and he'll get better at it over time. But I did see a lot of the comments over the weekend. It kind of pulled my hair out. I was like, for a guy that I played hooker growing up and getting pushed out to the edge and center and wings and hearing all different things of people saying, hold your width. But defensive systems, your coaches are saying, you got to cut off that space. But you're getting yelled at. Bro, it's crazy. So I hope people understand that in a way. That's the reason why that happens. It's usually because we're getting beat numbers from the inside out. Don't blame the winger first. The winger is the last call of action. You should never look at a winger and say they're the defensive stronghold in the side. It's the middles working from the inside out. That's how we beat defensively. So that's usually why the breakdowns happen the way they do. And it's why that, as I said, Phil Gould said we're one of the hardest teams to beat in the competition because we pressure from that outside really hard to cause that variable of a passing game or a kick in behind.
Yeah. And systematic stuff. It's systematic stuff, guys, and exactly what Ash has explained. I think, if anything, sometimes wingers have a tendency to, it's good for a winger to get a try as well, to kind of build their confidence. Wingers need those touches too. I mean, I'm looking at his numbers. You got 14 for 130, so it wasn't like he had an off night, but no. Maybe he had a quiet. I can't remember if I felt like he had a quiet night or not, but I mean, the one thing I think that frustrated everyone was the drop ball from off the the one off the ruck on the yardage carry. I think that was just the timing of that was wrong, and I think that kind of, if you look at that and you add that to what you so-called leak the try and etc., that probably adds to that. But when I was looking at it, and I know everyone in the chat was saying leave on this, and I was agreeing with a lot of it. I agree that point sits in the line a bit too much. Maybe sometimes maybe a bit passive. What I do like about Tane's movements is they are sharp and quick. But then again, Dal has working with Kate well. He hasn't had much time with them. Insides, like you're saying, new Corday, all of that stuff adds into and adds in the system as well. So there's absolutely don't worry, everyone. Don't get too worried about this. But it's something to be aware of for sure.
Yeah, 100%. As I continue to say, it's I think it's the NRL, and it's great to see, I saw a comment before, go check out Sean Johnson's breakdown of Isaiah Katoa, showing the outs, inside and going out. And he kind of explains a little bit of what the defense is kind of trying to do and how they shut down on players. Don't look at the winger as the guy that's screwing up all the plays. Look at the guys on the inside to push out the numbers that creates the winger to stay out on their man. The winger's got to have to dart in and do something when they're getting overnumbered on that edge. That's what they do. Yes. We don't want to make one-on-one tackles in the NRL. If you actually look statistically, we're one of the best teams in the competition for getting more than one man in the tackle. We're one of the best in the team for competition for that. And that's what good defenses do. You don't want to make one-on-one tackles, especially when you're on Luciano Leilua. Valentine Holmes can break a tackle on the edge. You want to dart in, cut off their time, cut off their momentum, so they don't get that quick play to ball later on. There's so many different things that go into it. And I think the NRL fans understand is don't blame the winger all the time. There's moments where wingers make horrible decisions, 100%. But when a guy makes a proper decision of just darting in and making the opportunity of just cutting down shape, that's what they're supposed to do in those moments. They really are.
Yeah. Yeah, and Yeah, I totally agree with it. Guys, want to shout big up Norpeter for the super chat, man, and a bit of promotion. He says, any of the lads got the new Waz jersey? I need a one size XL. Can anyone else help out Norpeter? He's paid for this. He's paid to get this post up. Can anyone help him with the jersey? And Norpeter, if you're in here, try and tee up with someone to get that for you, brother. But yeah, the jersey, just quickly on the jersey, what do you think of that jersey that Louis Brown did? Very, very nice.
It's
Very nice.
unreal, bro. It's unreal. I love it. Dear Warrior, I love the story behind it. If you haven't gone checked out, guys, the story behind it, go check it out on YouTube. Go check it out. But also, another thing I want to point out, I saw with watching it, I don't know if you'll be able to pick that up on the screen, but if you watch in the middle of it, Louis Brown is doing photography for it. It looks like there's going to be a shirt or something coming out of the Warriors or another jersey. That looks amazing as well. So
it's criminal. This is criminal that they make these many jerseys. They really abuse their fan base. Like seriously, the amount of money that these guys like. I love the club. I'm not, but it's abuse. It's like an addiction. They're just these like the pokies, bro. They're triggering their people to get these jerseys. It's actually insane.
Oh, bro, it's crazy.
But hey, if you're making good products, bro, people want to buy it.
But shout out Brownie for doing an amazing job, man. Like, it's so good to have a guy that, proper, like, fashion. Like, he's definitely going to be making some dope jerseys. He already knocked it out of the park with the first one, so.
Yeah, man. Let's keep the praise going. And a big talking point, look, I said give the halves till round 12. I think I might as well go early and around 11, one round early, unless they completely bomb next week. But I'm pretty confident they won't. And the data and the stats, and no doubt what we've seen from the eye test, it looks really, really good and consistent and growing and developing. For me, I'll just answer this for myself personally. Are we settled on the halves? I've given them the 12-week period. Yes, I am personally. I think these are our halves moving forward for the future at this stage. And I think the combination they've got going is fantastic. I'm really impressed with CHT, actually. The placement of his kicking game, he's kind of settled as well. He's kind of, I think he's growing as a player in terms of just being more controlled, and the tempo for both of them, I feel like, is slowing down. The brain is processing better. Yep. And no doubt they've had good supports as well. Got a lot of experience around helping them, but I feel like Webby's guided them, and it's great to have this convo, because I know at the start of the season there was a lot of other talk around Tamide, Tanner coming in, a lot of praise for Tanner as well. Some people were saying 6 weeks, some were saying 12. Now we're at this point, and it's great that these two have won the spots out, and they're holding it. And at this point in time, it's going to be very difficult for their jerseys to be taken off them, barring injury, of course. But what do you make of the halves, bro? Are you settled as well? And how confident do you feel moving forward with these two to a potential finals run, or things like that?
Yeah, and honestly, this is coming from a guy, as you guys know, I made a video to start the season, and I was like, Tamade Martin needs to be our number 7, and Luke Metcalf needs to be our number 6. Or whoever it was going to be, that was going to be the halves pairing for this year. And, honestly, I think we all had Luke Metcalf in the halves, but Luke Metcalf as a 7 is really stepping up in that area and probably showing a lot of people the ability that he has had. So for me, he's the biggest tick, right? Like he is running tied third for Daily M this year. Kicking wise, he's actually been really, really good. Like, you're just looking at statistically, he's right up there with Daly Cherry Evans, Toby Sextons in the world, and only kicked 97 times this year. Like, so incredible for him. He's got a 40-20 to his name. Like, he's showed really good ability in his game control. But then you start looking at his attacking ability off the back of that. He's the second best attacking half in the competition, running half in the competition right now. Right. Run meter rate, right? So he knows how to run at the right times. He's scoring tries, line break assists. Like, he's just doing everything that I love to see. Chanel, this is the other thing. Is like I said, Tamade Martin. I was playing that. I was like, yo, and I also said this year, I was like, I just don't know about Chanel Harris-Tavita and whether he, 6-wise, he could be consistent enough in areas to be the 6 for us this year. I think Chanel's probably been our most consistent half for probably this whole year, right?
Real good.
Yeah, like you couldn't say that he's having the big up end of like Luke Metcalf's game is, but defensively he's absolutely incredible. Like, you know, over the weekend we seem to get beat a lot more on Luke Metcalf's side, and Luke Metcalf's great defensively there too. So shout out to Lukey working on that area. But Chanel defensively locks in that edge so hard, and he's like his kicking game, as you said, his running game's getting there. Like he's been consistent for us week in, week out. And like, you know, we've seen moments where Tamade Martin last year that had up and down moments where like I wouldn't change a good thing when it's there. Like we got two young halves now. Like Tamade is definitely what I think he's 29, 30, like he's around that range right now. So he's towards his end. You know, you got Chanel that's in a good prime. You got Luke Metcalf is in a good, you know, age of his career. These guys are going to be around for a long period of time. We can build with these guys for a future. So I'm set, bro. I'm happy. Loving what they're doing defensively. Chanel, amazing. What Luke Metcalf's doing in every other part of the field, incredible. And what they're doing together with just, they look like they're great mates off the field too. Like they just look like they're really loving each other's company, and their connection's growing. So I think that we can't mess up a good thing in that area. You know, if you start pulling pieces apart now, you're going to start meshing with connections, and I don't like to see that. So I'm really, really happy to see that, and I've got to pull my hands up. I was wrong. Tamade Martin, I was like, yeah, 100%. He's killing it in Cup, 100%. But what Chanel and Metcalf are doing this year, I'm loving it both our halves right now.
Just that left-footed kicking game, I think it was undervalued, or you know, not that it was undervalued, but I thought it was important. You know, you look at really good harvest pairings in Luai and Cleary at the time, Munster and Hughes. Like you always had that left foot kicking option. It just alleviates pressure, and it takes like they've got a good balance in terms of like who's going to take a turn and who's going to do it, and that comes with communication and time, and they just needed time to work on that. Yep. But I think they're really finding good balance, which is great. I think they'll grow. They're young too. I agree with the young talk. Tamade is on the back end. I agree with that as well. Actually, just quickly on Tamade, I know people. It was a short stint, and it was in the middle. Like that look? Was it effective, or was that? Did Webby go to that kind of as a last minute option? Because it's kind of weird because he had Healy the one week before, and Healy was killing it. Yeah. Went to Tamade for that specific game, and it looks like well, he's got both Healy and Tamade this time. What do you make of Tamade's little 20-minute burst?
Yeah, I thought it wasn't too bad. I actually thought that I've never seen Tamade play in that middle forward type role, that lock forward type of role, and I thought, like, you know, he got his shoulder in a couple of tackles. He looked like he was willing to get into it. And, you know, whenever he had, I think, you know, he had a couple of touches, but it looked like he had a lot of energy. So I'm definitely not against it. Like, we've seen it happen before. Whether we can get caught out by it over a long period of time, maybe if we're playing him at a 13 at a longer click, I probably don't like that. But it opens up the opportunity to put him at fullback and have Chance if Chance goes down or whatever happens there. There's a lot of opportunity where Tamade can fill in a role and do a job anywhere. You know, Sam Healy can do very similar things with that hooker and middle forward type of role. But if we're going for spine members, I think Tamade does a great job there too. So I personally still love to have Sam Healy on the bench in that 14 jersey for that hooker rotation. I really enjoyed that. And I think that he just got dropped the cup just to, like, you know, work on a couple of things, and he'll be back up very shortly, which we see him in teamless at the moment. Whether that stays that way, I don't know. But I enjoyed a little bit of what Tamade did, and it showed that he can play in the middle, so maybe it could be an option for the future.
There was little moments where he was squaring up the attack a little bit, kind of opened a few little things, but that, I mean, you have to weigh that up against having a guy like him and his size in the middle. That's a tough area to work in, bro. You know, so it's kind of an exotic look, what I would call, where if you want to be finesse and a little bit cute, maybe you go with it. But I agree, you go with a Healy or something a lot more solid to round out that. But we'll get into the team list pretty soon anyway. So, okay, we're set on the half. I think we'll continue to talk about the halves. We've talked tons about the halves, and we'll continue as they continue to progress. But I think everyone here, at least Wise Up TV and everyone in the chat, settled, done. We're happy with it as a fan base. So let's move forward and focus on other things. So that's really, really cool to hear. Let's now go to stats with Ash, guys. Ash off screen I've got some stuff for you, bro. Let's get stats with Ash back up, bro. It's been a few weeks. I know everyone will be excited to hear this stuff, so let's hear it. Let's have a little bit of time to listen to Ash, guys, as he shares some of the stuff, the cool stuff he's found out. So let's pass it over to you, bro.
Sweet, brother. So, yeah, we're coming up to round 11 now, so it makes it a little bit easier to run with stats and kind of have a lay of the land in a way. Whether, the NRL as a competition, it's so tough to kind of get a read on certain sides this year. A lot of sides that have up and down moments. And that's kind of, as I said before, the illusion of everyone saying we need an 80-minute game. Like, there's not too many teams in the competition that are throwing up that this year at least. There's a lot of teams that are on their day playing incredible football. So, with these stats, I kind of just went into, I wanted to see our wins and losses against top 8 opposition, bottom 8 opposition, bottom 4, stuff like that, and how we're going this year in those sort of sense. So I went with a couple of different ways I did this. So guys have like an opportunity to say that, oh, Ash, the current 8 isn't what it should be. Or guys like, the 8 that we had, coming up, I'll kind of discuss it while I'm there. But against current top 8 competition right now, so the top 8 that we have right now on the ladder, we are 3 wins and 2 losses. So we played 5 games of top 8 competition this year, and we're on a positive end of that discussion there too. So very, very good to see. Our only 2 losses came against top 4 sides, as we know, the Raiders and the Melbourne Storm. The Raiders game, first game of the season, we can add context to that. Melbourne, we've seen what Melbourne can produce in that dry track. Again, we need to be better, but those are the 2 games that we're down on, and that is more of like we're playing the high end of the competition there. Great signs there. Moving against bottom 8 competition, that means that we've won every game of our bottom 8 competition, which last year we struggled with, as we all know, right?
Yeah.
Going up against the Titans, the Dragons, stuff like that. When we went on that big sled, we now 4-0 against bottom 8 competition. We've only played one side in bottom 4, which was the Newcastle Knights in that period too. So very, very good signs there. So now I rearranged it to, because I spoke to Brody and I was like, the Dogs, I also gave him the stats of the Dogs and their top 8 opposition they played this year and all that. And he kind of made the argument of like, oh, well, the Dogs played the Rabbitohs when they were a top 8 side and they've kind of filtered out. So I kind of was like, maybe I should do that with the Warriors and see where we're at. So play sides, I now have upped it up to, we've actually played 5 times against top 4 competition this year. So the top 4 teams that we played in that period of they were top 4 sides before we played them or around when we played them. The Raiders, obviously first game of the season, but after that, they are a top 4 side as we see. Manly Seagulls were top 4 when we played them, and then they lost to us, they dropped out, but then they got back into the top 4 after we played against them. So for anyone who's saying that, Manly, coming into that game, everyone thought Manly were going to dominate us, but they were a top 4 before that. The Tigers were actually a top 4 side before we played them that weekend. So they were a top 4 side. Melbourne are a top 4 side before we played them. And the Broncos in that period were a top 4 side before we played them. We are 3-2 again, against top 4 competition in those periods. So teams that were running red hot before they came up against us, we're 3-2. Very good signs in that sort of aspect as well. Against the overall top 8 now, 4-2. Against teams that were in the top 8 when they came up against us. So we're adding the Cowboys. I'm pretty sure there was another side that was in the top 8 when we played them. I think it was the Dragons from memory. I'm not too sure off the top of my head. But 4-2, great stat there. 3-0 against bottom 8 sides this year when we gone up against them when they were in the bottom 8. And again, only one side was bottom 4, which is the Newcastle Knights. All right. So that's all the very good signs with the wins and losses, guys. So take that as you will. Again, as I said, we're doing very well against teams that are coming up against us in form, which is great to see. And we're also turning away sides that we should be turning away that are under us in the competition right now, which is great signs as well. Now, moving over to our stats into this one of like our attacking points per game and our defensive points per game. So overall in the season right now, we are actually 14th in the competition in attack. So our attack still needs to build 21 points per game. And that's mainly because we're getting ourselves in these tight tussles week in, week out now to, not week in, week out, but the last couple of games, we are getting into tight tussles in that area. So 21 points per game. Last year, that would have been a top 8 sort of range points per game. But we've seen Melbourne Storm and all that sort of stuff really blow out the points per game, sort of stat this season, right? Then we got in defensively, we are a top 6 side defensively this year right now. And that's even with the Melbourne Storm game and the Canberra Raider game in our average with 20.8 points per game. That's amazing. Now, moving into more in form. So the last 3 rounds coming into this weekend, we are attacking at 23.6 points per game. So we've upped that 21 point per game average in the last 3 weeks. And defensively, we're only conceding 17.3 points per game in the last 3 games, which is second in the competition right now for points per game conceding. So defensively, we are really knuckling down now, and attacking-wise, we are starting to uptick in that area, which is really good to see, and that's going to add to our stats later on. So very, very happy with those signs as well. And going off of, games against top 8 sides and, against bottom 8 sides, we're attacking at 21.6 points per game against top 8 sides. So we're holding around our average. And we're defending about 26.4 points per game against top 8 sides. That's taking in the Melbourne Storm and the Canberra Raider average. So that's what pushed it all the way out. When we go back to the weaker competition or teams we should be beating, we're attacking at 20.2. We need to up that average, yeah, for sure. But we're defending at 14 points per game. With every side that we should have beaten this season, we're defending at 14 points per game, which is such a great sign. Defensively, we are having a very solid steel edge. Attacking-wise, that will come over time, and that will push our points differential a little bit better when we get more into the season. As I said, these averages change over time when we get further and further away from the Melbourne Storm game and the Canberra Raider game. So allow that to happen. Our differential will change future for the season to where we're kind of sitting right now. But very good signs for the New Zealand Warriors, especially with our wins and losses against very good competition.
Really, really great stats, guys. Are out. Yeah, that is looking really, really, really solid. And I love that. For me, me and you've been doing content for the last 2 years. We always talk about that 18-point threshold defensively. That's you should try and aim to stay within 18. 3 tries in this era of the NRL with the 6 games. You should try and stay within no more than 3 tries allowed per game. And it's great to see that those numbers hold up. Yeah, you probably want to see a bit of a higher clip in the points for. I mean, you'd like to aim for at least 4 tries. But even I agree, sometimes the maybe some conversions, if they were just at a higher clip, you probably just see that number go up a little bit. It's not discrediting Metcalf. I think he did great conversions wise last week as well. But you're just thinking just a few more points on the board. Do you believe in the scoreboard pressure thing? I was really emphasizing. I even thought once we did the golden once we got the field goal, I was like, this is gonna mess with the Dragons, and it got the home. And shout out to the bro Chris Sassine with his videos. The goal, he pulls out the drawing board and he says, "Do the job,
get it in there."
Oh, right. But I do believe, even though we've had a low scoring points thing, I know people were kind of against us going against for the 2 penalties. I think there's a psychological edge to having a bit of scoreboard pressure on certain teams. Not every team, but teams like the Dragons, the Knights, Broncos got to them a little bit. The Cowboys got to them. Do you believe in that still?
In a way. In a way, the way I want to discuss that too. First of all, I think that there is this food for thought as well that in the NRL competition right now, due to momentum and stuff, a lot of teams are finding it easier to attack on the back foot and when they're chasing margins than they are pushing out margins. Teams will get out to a certain lead, as we've seen from comebacks over the weekend. But I think a lot of teams that end up giving up a couple of tries, obviously they start clicking again. That's when you see them coming over the top of teams because momentum shifts so hard in the NRL right now. And it's so tough to kind of sway momentum back the opposite way. But one thing I want to point out, and I can't get credit to this because I love listening to a lot of people's thoughts about, rugby league, and that kind of rounds out my thoughts. But shout out to Jamie Soward and Rugby League Guru. It's one of my weekly listens that I love listening to because I love Jamie Soward's kind of view set being a halfback, and Guru does so well of bouncing back and forth with him. But he's been saying for weeks, and it kind of shows that, to me, I think Luke Metcalf probably listens to a lot more than what people give credit for as well. He's been saying for weeks that when halfbacks get into the opportunity, whether it's 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, snap that field goal. It's going to create a lot of pressure for a side to want to back that up. And from what we saw over the weekend, 10 minutes ago, we snapped that field goal. What did the Dragons want to do in that period, chasing us down? Did they go for tries or did they go for field goal attempts in that period? They couldn't figure it out. So we had that first early point where, Metcalf goes for it. And what the Dragons wanted to do, they wanted to go, all right, if you're going to go field goal, we'll get one back on you to tie it up again so we can get into overtime and then we can win in overtime, right? Yeah. So we saw Valentine Holmes shank one, and they were trying to set up in periods without just attacking us with their shape.
Which was just keep going at us,
Exactly. So it changed the mindset of a side going, we want to attack with field goals. And that's what Metcalf did. And that's such a smart play. And Jamie Soward's been calling for ages of like, why don't teams do it more? Halfbacks need to be better at it. I think there's a little bit of food for thought. Lukey Met's out there listening to potties out here and going, Jamie Soward, all right, bro, all right, I'll give that to you. 10 minutes ago, I'll put this over the post and I'll see if it works. And it worked. It looked incredible. It was very, very good.
It was genius because you looked at Clemmer. Clemmer thought he was going for just a regular bomb to the corner or something because he had no kick pressure, and then he just slotted it. And I thought perfect timing actually. Actually, very very smart. The other thing I had a random thought about an NRL strategy that should be, why not take a field goal early in the game, like first or second set on a goal line attack, just to set something up for the future, like. I know teams do it a lot where they do it in the last 5 minutes because that's to win a game. But why don't you set it up earlier so that when you get into the game actually turns on its head when you've got that 1 point scoreboard pressure in the back. And that's where low-key want to give shout out to Metcalf because he probably did the best field goal I've seen. And SJ's had some great ones, but if you really think about it, to do it when there was no pressure or thought to pressure you. That's smart.
So smart.
That's a smart footy play. And Soward's bang on there.
Footy IQ, that's bro.
Genius.
It's big, man. And that's what's winning us games in these areas as well. The Metcalf is finding little moments to win games. Like rugby league is a moment's game in a way, right? You want to play the full 80 minutes, but there's key moments in the game that you got to win. There's 50-50 moments to go either way. And Metcalf this year is showing up in all those big moments. I think there was a comment early on when I spoke about defense, and it wasn't going on. I think Metcalf's defensively has been incredible this year, right? But that try-saving tackle he had on Murray Taulagi meant so much to that was a 50-50 minute, 50-50 play, as we saw early on in the competition in that game. Kurt Capewell almost put Muzzer out and he didn't. And that gave the Cowboys a little bit of a sniff in that contest. Metcalf took that away with that beautiful tackle on the outside. In this game, he had that field goal to put it to bed, right? In a way of I'm going to allow them to chase points. And when a team chases points, what are they going to do? They're going to throw the football. They're going to play very risky football, or they're going to do what the Dragons do and go, I don't know whether we're going to go for a field goal. I don't know whether we're going to attack. And they get muddled. So I think that we're winning all the key moments, and that's what's causing us to win games. And it's so smart to see that, Luke Metcalf is learning on the go with wins under his belt, And it's very good to see, there's a lot of pressure that comes with losses. There's a little bit less pressure when it comes off wins, but you can still learn off your games. And he's doing it week in, week out.
Yeah, he is. Hey, shout out Jimmy, man. Good to see you. Shout out 4-pack shooters and 4-pack clothing. Guys, if you are like a triple XL, 4XL, my bro Jim Bob here, he does amazing clothing to make the bigger guys feel comfortable. Go to 4-pack clothing for all your needs in terms of if you're a big man, definitely for sure. He's saying here just quickly, is an inability to maintain pace and pressure due to fitness or mental or just skill and capabilities. I love it that we win. It's just curious. I think it's Jimmy. For me personally, it's just the there are pressure points in the game. There are fatigue moments. Like for me, there are, because of the interchanges, Webby does at times let guys play out through the pain threshold. You see Marata struggling a lot, and sometimes you can just see him, and Egan at times, they do play that extra 5 to 6 more minutes, and maybe those are vulnerable times. I think it's just one of the tricky parts of coaching is getting impact on at the right time. And then there are definitely times in the game where the momentum, as we've been talking about, it just switches and you're just on defense for. So I don't think it's a lack of fitness or mental. I think if anything, we have been showing mental. Any quick thoughts on that, Ash?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of skill in the competition. When teams are chasing points, they're really hard. Like when they get momentum and they get a sniff in the game, they're really hard to turn away. We saw that with the Cowboys. The Cowboys did it against us last week and did it against the Panthers the next week, right? Where they went down by 2-try margin or whatever, 2-try and conversion margin. And they've just brought it all the way back and they found a sniff. So there's a little bit of that. The other thing I do want to bring up as well is our young boys are still learning. So Dimitri Guaimwanga's, our middle interchange is doing very, very well for itself. And it's like, as you said, Webby pushes them out. The times where you see us kick back into gear is when our big boys, our experienced boys come back onto the park. So when Webby does those big changes of, maybe last 15, you'll see Barnett run out there or you see Aaron Clark run out there again. and it will just change the contest back in our favor. In those middle periods of the game, we got young boys that are learning certain things in the game of like, how to like, hold down competition and not get done for certain things, or how to number up. So I think there's a little bit of like learning mid game. There's, there is fatigue with Webby pushing these guys before our big boys come back on. And there's also, momentum in rugby league is so hard to change around. Like, it really is. If you watch all like, rugby league in the NRL, every team's dealing with it and they're struggling with it with the 60-game game at the moment.
Yeah, man. No, it is tricky. But shout out to Jimmy for that question. Fantastic. Let's get into Teamless Tuesday, man. Let's talk about these changes that we have here. Oh, sorry, I did have one more question. Sorry, guys, going to just hold off just a little bit. Because Ash made me think about these 4 games coming up.
Yep.
And now that the top 8 is settling a bit, do you think that we should take any value out of the Raiders game coming up in Mount Smart in 2 weeks' time and the Sharks game away? Do those top 8 matchups, are those kind of, highlighted games for you personally to determine that the stats that you've just presented maintain that we are still that kind of consistent top 4, top 8 team? Or is that, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for me, like overall, just continuing to beat the teams that we can beat is probably a big thing. But when we're talking about those games of, the Raiders is going to be a big one for us to kind of rewrite the wrongs that happened in Vegas. So I think the boys will be up and really ready to go for that. And with the Raiders at the moment, they've put a lot of energy into an early start to the season. We've discussed it many times that the Raiders do this. Like they're a very top-heavy side. To the start of the competition, they go really hard. A coach like Ricky Stewart trains them hard, whips them into gear. He's very emotional. He gets them up and going. And like it blew me out of the water how good the Raiders are going to start this year as well. But again, I still want to see a long period of time where the Raiders kind of sit, but pinching that game would look good for us in the media aspect of the game. Like during this period, top 4 side, the Raiders have been one of the stories of the season. If we can get that done, that's big for us. The Sharkies game is a big one I want to circle because I know we've had a really good run against the Sharks for the last, 3 years. I think Webby has a positive record against the Sharkies since he's been at the New Zealand Warriors. I think we've only dropped 1 game from memory against the Sharkies. So that's a big one for us where we're going up against Adam Fanor-Blake. The Sharkies, before the season, were known as premiership threats. They're starting to find themselves a little bit right now. They're going to come in red hot. That's the side of wherever they're sitting on the ladder, that's a little bit of a worry game to where like, all right, they can really turn out. They can show premiership medal against a team like us that has been, at times now, the media are starting to get behind us as a media story. The Sharkies want to get in the media and everyone be like, they're premiership threats, and that's a game they're going to do it on. So I think that's the biggest game for us, for me, in the next upcoming ones. Obviously, I want us to win against the Dolphins and Rabbitohs while we got it, but I think the Sharkies game is a really big one before the bye. I think that's a massive one for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just earmarked. I mean, every time I've earmarked the game, we've lost it. I try to earmark the Anzac. I mean, the Storm game this year. I want to stop earmarking any. I'm stop going to highlight any game no more. I just want to play the games. Whatever happens. So I feel like I jinxed the team, but
the biggest positive.
I'm excited about those two. Yes.
The biggest positive, bro, is like, as I said, to start the season, we believed, we were like, think we were fighting for that top 8 role. We're right in that. And I still believe we are that sort of side. I still don't think we're a premiership threat just yet. I think we're still building to that. I don't think our performances have just gone like premiership threat. These guys are incredible. So we need to still be beating sides like the Dolphins and stuff to stay in that top 8 discussion by the end of the year, right? Beating sides like that gets us into the top 8. Beating sides like the Cronulla Sharks gets us into that talk of top 4. I believe, in my head anyway. So, if we go down to the Sharkies, it'll be more like, all right, they're more of a team that a lot of people are looking premiership pedigree. They've got a lot of big players there. We're still in transition sort of period. But if we're able to get scalps on those ones, I think the momentum of the Warriors will really skyrocket.
Definitely. Okay. Appreciate that. Thanks for that, Ash, as well. Let's get into this team list Tuesday, guys. And I know there's a question in there. I'll get to that as we break it down. But in terms of the team list, guys, it's just the changes are at this stage. Fish has come in, obviously, to start with Barnett. And at the moment, we've got Tamari there, and we've got Sam Healy there. with Laban and Dimitrik. But I think we're all expecting a few little changes as well. So um, RTS on the reserve grade, on the outer reserves. MGT is out there as well,
Hmm.
with Tanner Boyd and Eddie Ieremia Toyava. Eddie Ieremia Toyava, I feel like he's the guy that's been listed the most but never played. Like in the
Yeah,
extended. Who
yeah.
who are the top? Just a side note, who are the top in the club to be listed on the extended but never play? I think Eddie's pretty much the king of it. I see his name every week, but he never gets a shot.
I know.
Is
A
there anyone
close
else?
second.
Stal
A close
Smith. Yeah,
second.
yeah.
Star Smith. Yeah, Tanner Star Smith's been there for a little while, eh? Tanner Boyd, of course, and stuff. But I think Eddie's been there pretty much since the inception, right? Like I think he's
Yeah,
been
he's
either
been there
there
for
or
like the
about.
last 3 years.
Oh
Sorry,
man,
that's
nah,
not
he's
disrespect. That's not disrespecting Eddie. It's just
nah.
I feel for these guys get caught on these extendeds, but they never actually play.
Well, he's a very, very talented player, but he's that perfect Mr. Fix It type of guy to where, like, let's say we have this torrential injury run going into that game, and we need a guy that can cover edge, back row, center, middle, like he can play anywhere. Chuck Eddie in that mix, and he'll do a job out there. We saw it in the trials as well. He could play center if he really needed to. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's any sort of area that he could maybe get a debut in this one. If they were going to mix and match some of their center positions or something like that coming into it. But yeah, he seems to be a guy that consistently gets into that reserves role.
Yeah, yeah. Just a side note. Let's get. I want to get to this first question here.
Yep.
If RTS is fit for game day, do you think he comes into the centers and pushes Capes to second row, or does he just push Tua Picky out of the side? That's a well. Just quickly, Roger is. I think from what I heard, he had a test last week, fitness test, failed
Yep.
that apparently. I think he's listed in there to have another fitness test. If he does pass, based hypothetically, what do you think would happen? Does he go to centers, or does he just literally replace Tane?
Yeah, for me, from what I've heard, Rog hasn't done any training at center in this off season, so I think that we kind of like are now looking at him as just a winger, out and out winger. But we know that he could do it from last year. I know a lot of Warriors fans would be like, "Oh my god, like don't do it again." But we're kind of in that period right now where I don't know if we really have a choice. So for me, I think that the one that causes less chaos would be Roger to center, and Tane stays onto his spot until Roger moves out to the wing later on when we get Ali or Barry back, which is in another couple of weeks. So I think that's the safest play for me. I think that could be it. The other one I'm kind of throwing off the top of my head, right? We got Moala Graham Tulfa sitting in that 23rd man, and this probably backs onto another question a little bit later, but maybe Moala Graham Tulfa comes in for Kurt Capewell, Roger comes in for Tane, Tane drops out to the side, and we got two genuine centers that are sitting there, and Roger gets back to his native position that he trained week in, week out from the preseason instead of, mixing and matching too much. But the last one is pushing Chance to a center, Tane going to fullback, and Roger coming to the wing. That's the last one. But for me, I think the more likely one is, as you said, probably Roger going to center and Tane playing on the wing.
Yep. Just quickly, this is a great question, and Ash, if you don't mind explaining this to Hash Williams, can you explain round 11 outside top 30 works? I see MGT listed. Yeah, just quick one on that one.
Yeah, I always get this one mixed up in the preseason because I always think it's around that round 9, 10, 11. But yeah, this year, round 10, the NRL, the Warriors can dip into outside their top 30, or the NRL teams can dip out to the outside of top 30. So before that, unfortunately, the reason why we pushed Kurt Capewell into the center position in that period is because all the depth we had in center wing in our top 30 squad were either injured or, Morgan Harper was one of them that was playing cup and he was on a training trial too. So Marlon Graham Talfar wasn't able to be picked in reserves due to that. Or it would be caused to a fine, or he'd be submitted to being under our salary cap in general. It's something to do with that. So yeah, we weren't able to dip into that pre round 11, but now past round 11, we're able to go to our top 30 if there is an injury period. The only other way around is if we get an exemption. But this week, yeah, it could be on the cards that Moala Graham Talfa can play for us.
Yeah, great stuff. Rugby 02, yeah, we're going to get to Jet Cleary at the end of the show, towards the end. But if anyone in the chat wants to answer that, please do while we'll get to that stuff later on. But great stuff. Okay, let's move now into Fish coming back. how does he impact things? Look, to credit to the team, they've actually maintained good standards. Um, it's quite sad actually that Ford and Bunty are injured, and that Fish comes in, and it's kind of but at the same time, Fish has been great for us as well. What do you think, he comes back and makes a big impact, or is it just business as usual? What's your thoughts on Fish being back after his pick injury?
Yeah, I think that for his impact's going to go unnoticed more times than not with Fish. When we get to the finals is when you're going to see Fish turn into just this ultimate monster. We've seen it with the Panthers, but all the stuff that he does during the season, I know a lot of people question is like, has Fish really done a lot this year? It's all behind the scenes stuff. It's all the cleanup work. It's all the ruck work that he does. Him and Mitch Barnett, especially with their wrestle, their defense, and the ruck, like it's second to none. So I think the impact in that sort of sense is going to be a massive one, but it may go a little bit unnoticed to fans that just enjoy that attacking style of football and just watching that sort of style of thing, and kind of go like, well, why isn't Fish running for 150, 160 meters per game? He's just not that front rower. So I think he's going to really impact the side defensively for me. The hunting from the inside, he's going to do all those little things, and he's going to see all the standards these young kids are setting, because it's been spoken about week in, week out. Mitch Barnett saying our young kids are setting the standard at the moment. Our seniors need to step up to that. Fish is going to take on that role and really, lead from the front with the senior boys to be like, all right, boys, I'm going to show you how to really do it. So very, very excited for that.
Yeah, it's good. It's always good to have the Ngāpui stand just get straight to Honehika up there, up in the far north. He just has that mano about him, and just has that leadership quality. And great to have. Barnett's been great, I thought, from a leadership standpoint.
Agreed.
But it'd be good to have that extra voice on the field if times get tough. We need Fish as well. But yeah, I think that's all part of squad building, and you got to give credit to Cappy and Webby. It wasn't a like for AFB. In fact, it's a different total mindset and skill set and cultural decision to bring Fish in. But you offset that with Aaron Clark, who you maximize, you really get a lot out of, and you find multiple other ways to build yardage and momentum. So I think the balance of Clark and Fish and Barney and Egan, those middle four are just fantastic. I'm really impressed with how they've performed this season. So it should be business as usual for me, and maintaining momentum and having those fresh bit of legs, I think will lift us for sure.
Yeah. And I see, when you're looking at, I don't really want to put it on AFB, because AFB is an incredible individual player in this competition. Statistically, week in, week out, what he does on that football field is incredible. But I do believe that, Fish coming over kind of raises the elevation of the team around him, because, he kind of delegates his role in areas, right? Like the run meters are going to come from multiple people, not just Adam Fanor-Blake, right? Where when you have Adam in the team and you see a guy that's going to run for 150 week in, week out, I feel like some people probably take a little bit of back foot step and says, all right, Ads has got that. I'll allow him to have that, instead of kind of stepping up their game to match it with him. And I think we're starting to see that in the Sharkies a little bit, to where Ads is the big standout middle forward over there. But there's no other guy that's kind of matching with him and really bringing it up with him. We had Mitch Barnett that was doing it with us, right? But, now we have Mitch and Fish and Aaron Clark and that. All our boys week in, week out, it's kind of hard to go, he was the best forward this week, right? Aaron Clark's probably the big star that we have week in, week out. But, everyone's doing their job. And I think that's what Fish brings comparatively.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's actually it, guys. But just quickly, everything else is maintained. Look, we'll wait and see. We've had that chat about RTS.
Yep.
Wait and see what happens, guys. No doubt Webby's been calling a lot of last minute ones.
Yeah,
so look for the 24-hour cutoff, and then look for the 1 hour cutoff changes as well. But let's just quickly make this bench up. How do you think at the end of the day? How do you think it's going to stack up? Obviously, Tamai's there. You got Healy in there as well in the mix. Do they bring in a Stella Smith or a Idemir, or does that change at all? Yeah, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, I think that if that goes the way we're thinking, I think Kurt Capewell, because he gets moved whether Roger goes there or not, I think Kurt Capewell goes back to an edge. For me personally, and I think Webby will do this as well, I think Martin Corday drops to the bench to be a middle forward. Yeah. Lecker's probably going to hold on to his starting role for me. So Marata will go to the bench, and then we'll probably either see Tamade Martin or Sam Healy drop off of our bench here. I think coming into this game with, Roger maybe still under an injury cloud with that center wing cover, I think he's going to go Tomato Martin again. I think that's the reason why he went him last week. But if Roger's ready to go, ripping and raring, everything's all good, we may get Healy back again. I think that's probably where Webby's gotten caught in two minds, where he's like, we got boys that are maybe a little bit hampered with injury, just working their way back. Tomato covers that fullback role if we want to move Chance to a wing or a center and do that sort of mix. If we have Sam Healy there, we're going to have to do Kurt Capewell back to the centers. I don't know. That's kind of where my head's at. So I think Sam Healy, unfortunately, drops off this bench from Ratsania Kuri. But we'll have to wait and see how Webby kind of plays it week in, week out, because the game plan may change.
Cool. Yeah, no, we'll leave it at that, guys. We'll get moving now, guys. Into our combined 17. We'll start talking more about the Dolphins players as well. So let me just get this up here. Ash, if you don't mind moving the other pieces around if we need to. We'll get into the fantasy stuff here. Let me just zoom in a little bit, guys. Oh, no, it's zoomed in. Okay, I think that's the level we usually have it at. Okay, let's start now. At the left wing, which would be, we'll just stick with what we've got here. I don't think we'll play the game with RTS. We'll stick with Tane. He's been playing the most. Left wing Tane versus, is that Bostock?
Left wing would be Jack Bostock. Yeah.
How do you who would you have in that battle? I haven't watched much of Bostock. I know Bostock's a quality player, quality talent. You'd have to go maybe Bostock based on just purely winger type comparison. But I don't want to discredit Tane as well. What would you say?
Just quickly before we jump on it too, Jack in the comments, I hope I didn't say Tomato Martin to centre. I don't believe he's going to ever play centre. I was also saying he'll come in the middle and push out to the centre. So yeah, no way. But yeah, with that matchup, for me as a winger, I think that at the moment Jack Bostock is the better winger. I think Tane Tuapiki is the better player as in a fullback and cover multiple positions. But if we're going for someone that needs to be on that outside, scoring tries, this and that, I think Jack Bostock probably does that at a better click than Tane just at the moment. He's only getting back off injury, but last year was incredible for the Dolphins.
Yeah, gotta give and Tane. Yeah, Tane sits in this funny spot where he's just an amazing footy player.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
you might put him in the centers one time and see what he can do. I really rate him as a kid, and freaking hell, he might have been one of the best talents if he was maybe a few more inches taller and a bit more size. But I don't think that diminishes his game either. But yeah, give that one to Bostock. There's no problem there from my end. We'll go to fullback now. Tabuai Fido versus Nickel Klogstad. I would say that's kind of Tabuai Fido, Origin rep player, Aussie player. I don't know how he's been playing decently, I suppose. This season.
Yeah, been pretty decent.
Yeah.
I prefer Hamiso as a center overall. But I wouldn't shy away. I think that Hamiso is the better player at the moment, comparatively out of these two. So I would go Hamiso. The one thing that turns me off Hamiso at times is he is a guy that, 1 week can look like he's interested in the game. The next week can be completely non-interested in the game. You can tell by, and even I think that maybe it's his mannerisms at times as well. And when he plays center, he's allowed to do that because you can kind of in center, you get limited opportunity with the ball. And in those moments, you make it count. Where in fullback, you kind of need to do it a little bit more times than not. So, but I'm going to go Hamiso here, State of Origin representative and Australian representative. Shout out to Chance, though. I do think he's still underrated.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got to give it to the quality. But yeah, Chance, massively underrated. Good to hear. Actually, Jazz was at the game. Channel member Jazz and moderator. And I was asking Jazz about and how'd the game go? Are we playing a clean game? People saying we're fraudulent. And he said, "Nah, we played pretty clean." But he said, "CNK man, whoever gives him crap, they're not watching the game enough." So I think there's a lot of credit to that, and we've got to show some more love to our man CNK for sure. Just want to quickly just give a shout out to these super chats here, Mel. Ooh. Very kind of you there. Awesome channel, boys. Thank you very much, Mel. We appreciate you. And channel member, Thanks for your support. Really, really grateful. And Bruce, my man Bruce, a channel member as well, with the $20. Cheers for the quality Warriors content, lads. Love you, fellas.
Thank you, brother.
No Diddy, no doubt.
No Diddy, no
In
doubt.
fact, actually, just on Diddy, I think there's a Diddy documentary. Oh no, it's the court trial. I saw something pop up on
He's doing that.
thumbnails. I think there's a court trial for Diddy coming.
There
That's gonna
is.
be
It's
actually.
right
I'm
now.
gonna have to watch that trial because I watched the Johnny Depp one. That was
Oh,
fantastic too.
yep.
This one I think might top it. The Diddy trial is gonna be crazy.
Bro, it's
Shout
gonna be
out Bruce,
hectic.
bro.
That Johnny Depp one, like that had like everyone's feed for a long period of time, and I think this one won't go. It'll go pretty close, to be honest. It'll go pretty close.
Yeah. It's gonna be crazy.
Shout
Oh
Diddy.
man, the world is insane right now, bro.
It is.
Okay, let's go to
Right winger.
right winger. Yes, Isako versus Dallin. From what I've seen, Isako's been pretty solid. I can't discredit him. I think he's had a pretty good game. Dell just coming back. You probably got to go Isako for me. What would you say, Ash?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Osako. Obviously, the guy that has nicked that Kiwi spot at the moment in that winger position. Goal kicking probably is the one that edges it for me. We're going finishing ability. I think Dall's probably the better finisher, but it's very, very close because Jermaine can finish some real good ones. Jermaine's probably a little bit more fleet-footed, but Dall's a little bit more of the worker too. So this one's really, really close for me. I think both of them defensively can have really good moments and have some poor moments at times. But I think Jermaine's goal kicking probably gives him just that little bit of an edge for me at the moment. So going Jermaine Osako.
Yeah, go with Isako there. Fair enough. Okay, now let's go left center. I think that's Farnworth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Herbie's
Farnworth
playing
versus-
left at the moment. Yep.
Farnworth versus Pompey, I think. Yeah. I mean, I love Farnworth, but nah. What are you saying, man? I think you gotta go Farnworth, right? I know he's been playing well because the super coach scores are ridiculously high, so he must be doing something right.
Bro, it's a legit running battle between him and Critter at the moment. Like I think like everyone would probably agree, Critter is the best center in the competition right now, but Herbie's pushing him, bro. Like, you know, week in, week out, they're both having great performances. So unfortunately, I can't go either Adam Pompey or Kurt Catewell against Herbie Farnworth, bro.
Shout out to our bro Pomps. He's so consistent, bro.
He is.
You know, he's on the down the picking order, but he's always there every week, bro. And I bet you Pompey will do another tap back try. I swear he's gonna do something great this week. I'm actually really enjoying Pompey this season. Like he's just been low key having one of the really solid seasons of any of our centers. Like, yeah, he might go down if we have like a, I don't know, 6-man award. You know, what's those, like a utility or like a, you know, most improved type thing at the club. I would love to put Pompey in there as like as a candidate, man.
Oh, 100%, bro. And like Pompey, like it wouldn't surprise me if Pompey has an amazing game against a Herbie Farnworth over the weekend, right? Like he's done it against, you know, Brady Best at times. He's done it against some of the best centers in the competition. So I wouldn't be surprised there. I wouldn't be surprised. But Herbie is a gun, man. He's so good.
Yeah, shout out to T Mackey, Pompey, the acting manager. You know the acting manager that you never get the actual the company never hires the manager, but Pompey's like the acting manager that's been filling in for the last years. You know, that should be getting the pay right. The company never give him the actual official title, but he does an amazing job, keeps the staff happy, keeps the money ticking over. Yeah,
keeps the morale high.
Keeps the morale high. I love it. Okay, now we're going to the right center. Avarillo versus Capewell. I know Avarillo's been pretty good too. I mean, again, these guys are like, you can tell we're a little bit low on our center stocks. Would you go Avarillo in this situation, or is Capewell actually the master utility man that he can actually do a job over Avarillo?
Yeah, it's tough to say that. Like, I think I don't rate Avarillo crazy highly. I think he's a really good footballer. He's got a ton of speed in that. Sometimes defensively he can be really well off and could put his winger in real bad positions. But you know, I can't go Kurt Catewell over him due to just like Cody Catewell is that just makeshift. I've put him in there, allow him to do it, and he can do a job. I think Avarillo just maybe has that tiny bit of a higher click in that area of like, all right, you're a bit more of a center, attacking wise, you definitely can, you can pop up in those areas, beautiful bat-ons, stuff like that. So I'm going Jake Avarillo, but it's not by a ton.
Not by a ton. Yeah, fair enough. And loving what Capes is doing, man. Some of the tackling, the one-on-one tackling he's been doing, I've really been enjoying his game. And see what
Agreed.
you are the one that kind of saw his ultimate value. And at times where I thought, Kate Wells another Hoffman. I actually said that. But what I'm seeing from him is beyond what Hoffman was doing at that stage of his career. I've been really impressed with Kate Well, man. Yeah. Let's go to the halves now. And 5'8", we've got Nicolima versus Harris DeVita. For me, just going to go Harris DeVita. He's just on a tier of form that is absolutely solid. I mean, Nicolima's got that attacking prowess. At times it's kind of hit and miss at times. But I'd say Harris DeVita. What would you say?
Yeah, I'm going to go Chanel. I think Chanel is a bit more consistent. Obviously, we know what Cody Nicolima is, as we had it with the Warriors. Very, very potent attacking player when he's on. But, when he's off, he can become a liability at times. But shout out to Cody. I think he's had a really good season this season. I think he's upped his defensive work a little bit this season as well.
Oh, cool.
But for me, Chanel's a bit more of the consistent customer and does a great job out there.
Yep, no, I agree with that one. Okay, this one's a great matchup actually. Isaiah Couture versus Luke Metcalf. Far out. That's a tough one to pick. I'll let you decide that one, man.
Yeah. Both obviously growing, right? Obviously Isaiah Couture, the younger, out of the two halves. Luke Metcalf getting that 7 jersey a little bit later on in his career. Lukey's speed, his running ability is incredible, and it gives him that little bit of an edge there. But Isaiah Couture as a halfback, his passing is
he's top notch.
The way he squares up a line, bro. When I used to love about Josh Schuster, with the Rabbitohs, as a guy that he can pass off both feet and he squares up a line so well. He can play so deep and take that contact, but he can play off that opposite foot. And it's really tough to defend because you usually see that shoulder turn in and you're going to pass out the back. When you're defending where someone's so square on, you're passing off the opposite foot, you've got a square player that could run and, come off his left foot, can do certain different things. So he does that just as good as Josh Schuster in a smaller body, a more nimble body, and the kicking game too. So I'm going Isaac Couture, but Lukey Metz, bro, is right there too. I love Lukey and what he's doing.
Yeah, would you give it to Couture based on the home team, or how fine is it?
It's very fine. Yeah. It's very fine. I think as an overall half, I think Isaiah Couture is just incredible.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
And look, man, it's a great opportunity for Luke to cement himself even more. And it's fine margins. I know people will be saying Luke, some saying Couture. I think we're going to have a great battle on our hands.
It's very close. It's very close.
Yeah. It is very, very close. Let's do now the wow. Wait, let me just get this one here. Just shout out to the brother Bruce has gifted 5 Wires Up TV memberships. Oh, my goodness. So guys, if you've gotten that Wires Up TV membership, please give Bruce a shout out in the chat. It's very kind of you, my friend, to give those memberships out. And it's great for us to have more members coming in to our member shows and enjoying the other perks. So thank you very much, Bruce. If you guys did get one, those that are in the chat, give a shout out to the brother Bruce for absolutely being so kind to do so. Appreciate him as well. Actually, my wife's just giving me the mean here. Interwebby, George Todd, Philip, Kiwi Spurs, and Pain in the Butt. Very nice. You guys are Wires Up TV members. Very, very nice.
Well done.
Awesome. Okay, let's go now to the next positions here. Let's go to the. So let's start off with, I think it's Fisher Harris versus Francis Molo. Oh, let's do the 4 combined. Fish, Mitch Barnett, Felice Kaufusi, and Francis Molo. I think that's pretty easy for me. No qualms, Fish and Barnett.
Yeah, that's pretty easy for me, bro. I think, Fish and Barney at the moment, just incredible. I think that, Francis Molo and Felice Kafusi on their day can make it tough on some boys. They definitely hit hard defensively, but our boys just have that extra gear. So James Fisher-Harris and Mitch Barnett all day.
Yep. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's go now just to lock, and then I'll tighten off, do all those 3 in 1 hit.
Yep.
Ray Stone versus Aaron Clark.
Ooh.
Seems simple again, Aaron Clark for me.
Yeah, going Aaron Clark.
Yeah,
got Aaron Clark, but keep an eye out on that man, Ray Stone, bro. He's a hitman in disguise. Definitely not in disguise, actually. Anyone that has a neck tat, you just know he can chop legs. So keep away from that man. But
crazy.
Yeah, Aaron Clark all day, bro.
Yeah, neck tattoos. Stay away from guys with neck tattoos.
Man, it's a crazy man.
It's a crazy man out there. Just quickly, just while I'm doing this, you got to give credit to the Dolphins. I mean, they've had a lot of journeymen through this, the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, they're not a bad side. I mean, they've made the Bromwich brothers kind of work. Ray Stone's a bit of a journeyman. They're slowly rotating their squad. You're looking at their backline thinking, wow, there's a lot of strike there, but still in the forwards, like a little bit of just journeyman. Do you think they've done well to, since being in the competition, do you think they've done well to kind of transition their squad through those journeyman players like Bromwich's, Felice Kaufusi's? What do you think how the Dolphins actually just side note? How do you think the Dolphins have done over the last 2-3 years transitioning their squad and being competitive?
Yeah, fairly well. I think, Wayne Bennett did a great job of putting a really sturdy base of hard work, that Melbourne Storm system, bringing over with, Bromwich, Kaufusi, obviously both Bromwich boys. So very, very good job. And they're slowly putting things together. I think they got hampered with Flegler's injury. I think that Flegler's injury didn't happen. I think that they would be competing really, really well, I think, week in, week out. Because the middle of the park, you want to win that first, and usually your games come off the back of that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so I think they're doing a great job there. They've got a lot of great experience, and it's just it's ushering in these young kids into a very good system. So I think they've laid the platform very, very well.
Very, very nice. Just quickly note this: are players allowed to receive dropouts? If so, why hasn't anyone utilized this? I don't think you're allowed to, bro. I think that's a union thing.
Yeah.
So if you want to go watch some lifted dropouts, go watch some union, brother.
yeah. You're not allowed to lift, bro. And I think that, I know it confused you too, because the question would be too, bro, is you obviously see certain times where players push players in the back, but that's not actually properly allowed in the NRL. If you push people over for a try and stuff like that, you're not able to create those big ruck scrums and stuff. So, you're not able to lift a player in the air.
Bro, back in the day, I used to watch a bit of rugby, the All Blacks and stuff, and Tri Nations and stuff, when the Wallabies were pretty good. But when they used to do penalties, bro, they used to get the locks to jump in the air to try and stop the penalty from going over. So you have John Eales and these old guys, and because they're kicking from 50 for their penalty goals. And they kick it from 50, and then because the ball's going down, they lift their locks up to try
over the post.
That's
gangster.
Bro,
that's so cool. Bro. Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened? Has anyone ever seen that happen?
No, they used to do it in rugby. Yeah, they used to catch them sometimes. I don't know if they might have stopped that rule. I think they stopped that rule in rugby, but they used to actually do that, bro, where they lift their guys up and time it to catch the ball as it drops down. It's funny.
That's crazy, bro.
Again, let's get into hooker now. Kurt Donahue versus Egan. Again, I think simple. This is a win for Egan. I haven't heard much of Donahue.
Yeah, Donahue's a great little up and comer. He's a guy that can play multiple different positions, right? He's kind of a Mr. Fix-It because of, unfortunately, Marshall King is out due to the laceration injury that he had. He had a cut, came back, and he opened up that wound even more, which looks crazy. So hopefully he's doing well. But Kurt Donahue can do a job in 6, center, fullback, 9. Just a really solid player. So still a guy we got to watch out for sure.
Yep. Fair enough. Give him that one. Look, this is Halasima, left-handed side versus is Finefuyaki left side as well?
Tom Gilbert, I'm pretty sure, is left hand, and Finefuyaki is on right from memory.
Tommy Gilbert's a captain. He's a pretty solid all round player. Is he better than Lecker though? And I'm not trying to discredit Gilbert, but Lecker is building a resume. Do you give it to Gilbert based on experience and maybe how would you sit with this one?
So the way I was going to look at this, I think Lecker goes back to the right. So I was going to push Lecker to the right and have Morata on the left. But as Capewell goes to the left, if that makes sense. But you're right, Morata Nicolet, when he plays, he's always a right side. So that's the way we're going to play this one. Tom Gilbert versus Lecker. It's two opposite ends of the spectrum. Lecker's still so young in his career. You know how high I'm on Lecker. Potential-wise, I think Lecker could be the best edge-back role in the competition. But right now, Tom Gilbert is a State of Origin, representative.
Yeah.
Very tough as nails. Not having his greatest season right now, but he's come back off a pretty decent injury. Before that, he was incredible, bro. And he's a hard-working type of back rower. Very similar to a Ruben Cotter type. Bigger body, though.
To give it to Gilbert, I'd say, just for this match.
I would just for now, but you guys know how much I'm high on Lecker. So I think potential-wise, Lecker could definitely impact this game probably a little bit more.
That's fair enough. And we still love Lecker. And guys, again, this may change. We're just going off of face value.
Yep.
See what happens when the team list comes out. He might be back on the right-hand side. Yep. Let's go now. Fine Fuyaki against Marata Newkore. Fine Fuyaki is pretty solid too, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Marata's and fair shout out to Marata. Just quick side note, Marata played real well in the middle. I like that style of play he was playing at prop.
Agreed.
And had some good carries too on the edge last week. Don't want to discredit Marata too much. I thought he was actually pretty good and had to the left. He had to play a longer rotation because of the forward HIA and Bunty's injuries. So, but yeah, who would you go for this matchup?
Yeah. This one's tough because, again, you're going off of the experience of Marata Nicolet or Fine Fuyaki's, the potential of this kid. He's so talented. I think that, for me, I'm going to sway away at Marata Nicolet just at the moment. I think Marata is probably a little bit more consistent right now. But Fine Fuyaki, he had that, breakout games at the Cowboys where I was like, oh, man, they lost Lemuelu and they got this kid and then they lost this kid as well. So the Cowboys. But at the moment, I'm going to go Marata Nicolet right now. But Fine Fuyaki will jump him in not too far in the future.
Yeah, let's go one for one. If it does become a battle of if you're actually lining them up against each other, Fine Fuyaki versus Lecker, how do you think that battle would go?
Very, very good. And I think that it's Lecker's time to shine against a guy that has a lot of potential as well. So I'm team my man Lecker to have a massive game against a guy that I think is very highly touted in coming from the Cowboys system.
Look, guys, there's your starting 15. It's a split, 6-7 split. They dominate the back five. We split the halves, and we win the forward pack, and with one split edge, which I would say, the engine room's looking really good for us if we maintain and dominate. But their back five looks dangerous, and if they get a lot of that ball with Katoa, it could be quite harmful. So
yeah,
it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great game. Let's get into this bench just quickly. We'll wrap this up soon. 133 of you guys, please hit that like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys' support, and shout out to our moderators for promoting that as well. Let's go best four. Currently, we'll just go with this, even though this will change and it might change for them too.
Yep.
Harrison Graham, Mark Nichols, Josh Kerr, Connolly Lemuelu, and Tamati Martin, Jacob Laban, Dimitri Vaimaunga, Sam Healy. I mean, Lemuelu for me stands out as. He's been very consistent. Has he come back from injury, is he, or something? Or is that why he's on the bench, or is he a bench player now?
I think he had an injury coming into the preseason, and he's worked his way back into fitness. But he's got a really nice interchange with Fine Fuyaki. They've done a little bit of differences there. And Lemuelu, I think he's on a 2 or 3 game try streak at the moment, from memory.
Yeah.
Very, very talented at back row. We know that.
I like him. I really like him.
My 4, I'm definitely going to put up Dimitri Vaimaunga for sure.
Yep.
I will definitely put in Connolly Lemuelu for sure. We will throw in Jacob Laban. And then it's the argument. Harrison Graham, very, very talented junior. He's had some injuries, unfortunately. Sam Healy, I love to death. Tamade Martin as well has probably more of the opportunity to fill in multiple positions and probably the overall better player yet at the moment. And I got a love for Josh Kerr because I played against Josh Kerr growing up, and he's an incredible center wing fullback that's turned into a front rower. He's an absolute freak. But I'll push him to the side. I'm going to go my last guy, Tamade Martin.
Tamade Martin. So who was it? Vaimonga Lemueli Laban, eh? You had Laban in there.
Yep. No Laban.
Sorry, who was it?
I had Lemuelu, Vaimonga, Jacob Laban, and Tamade Martin. Sorry, yeah, you're right.
Just quickly on Nichols, has he faded away a little bit? Nichols and Kerr. I mean, they used to be kind of solid veteran forwards. I mean, are they kind of on the down on their careers? And Vaimonga is obviously on the up. Gone with a bit of youth there.
Yeah, a little bit. Like Marky Nichols, probably just a little bit. You'd say long in the tooth a little bit. Very, very talented. Like, he does a great job for what the Dolphins need. Very experienced in the middle. Josh Kerr is still kind of midway into his career. He's kind of just finding his feet a little bit. He has moments where he shows his potential, then he kind of drops them down. So, still very solid, but, I think that we can, the bench that we have can roll over the top of this Dolphins bench in the interchange-wise. I'm very confident in that.
Sorry, we've been instructed here to change
this.
And here's another center. We thought we love money here. We're gonna change it.
We're gonna have to change it, bro. We're gonna have to change it.
See you later, buddy.
How about we do this? We'll leave Tom Gilbert and we're going right to Nicodia out for Lekala Sima.
Okay, yeah. We'll give it to Gilbert. I love it. Strictly, bro. It's fantastic.
That's
unreal.
You guys
ever want us to do, anything within reason. We love money here at Wise Up TV.
So. You're a beast, Strictly.
That's gold, bro. You're a beast, man. That's fantastic. So there you go. There we go. Does that look better? That should look pretty good right now, I'd say.
That looks a lot better, I reckon.
Yeah, okay. And hey, it is what it is. Absolutely love it. Big up my man. Big up our man Strictly. And does amazing content, guys. Just quickly on Strictly too. Go to watch Strictly Was TV on Instagram. Strictly's doing amazing stuff in terms of like updated posts, a lot of that type of stuff. Yeah. So go and please, actually, to be fair, Strictly's given us some love. Go and follow Strictly Was TV. On Instagram. Strictly as well. Any other locations you're at? I only know you from Instagram. Yeah. If you can chuck those in quickly, that would be fantastic to let everyone know. Shout out to our brother Strictly. He's been doing some good stuff as well. So we are corrupt. We love money here. We love money. No.
I love to see
that. We'll change the whole lineup, actually. Anyone else got any money? Who do you want out? You want
CNK? Yeah. Get us up, boys.
Get us up. There you go. There you have it, guys. There's your combined 17 for this week. Look, I said go back to this amazing back line, amazing 4-pack on our end. Bench looks like we're dominating. We should go in strong, but do be fearful, do be cautious of a Farmworth, of a Hamiso. Like there's strike there. So, but yeah, great stuff. Okay.
Woo.
There we go. Ash, thank you, Ash. crazy talking. We'll find ways. We'll find ways for sure. Okay, let's get to the score prediction and appreciate everyone that's hanging in there. 118. I know it's dropped off a little bit, but appreciate everyone that's hanging in there. Score prediction. Now, I'm going off the fact that, look, we've done well to do these 2 away wins. We've gone on the plane 4 times. Now we're going for our 5th and then our 6th after the game. Are we just a little bit worn down? Or am I exaggerating that we're tired? We might have full of energy. There's just that trigger in my Warriors head that at some point there'll be a loss, but that doesn't mean that's the end of the season. It means that like you'll get the next 3 wins probably. But is this a banana skin, or am I being over the top and thinking that it is?
Nah, this one's a 50-50 game for me. Like we've got to think that the Warriors now, we are Magic Round, Win Stadium, and back up at Suncorp again. That's a lot of travel, a lot of staying over in Australia. We've been very hot lately. Like we've been running on, I think this would be a 5th in a row if we win this game, which is massive for us this season, right? The Cowboys tried to go 5 in a row against us and unfortunately fell at the last hurdle. So this one's going to be a really tough one. But to do this win would mean so much to us. Like to show the ability of us going 5 in a row, just continues on the streak of what we got now. Statistically, the Dolphins, they match up really well against us, 50-50 wise in general, right? They average 23 points per game in scoring, and they concede 22 points per game. In our end, we score 21 points per game and concede 20 points per game. So we're the better defensive side, but obviously the Dolphins are the better attacking side, as we saw with that backline that they have. They got a lot of potency. So I think a high scorer, we saw it last time at Magic Round, at Suncorp last year. I'm thinking dry track, Suncorp Stadium. The weather's fine at the moment, even though it's a bit wet at the moment over in Brisbane. I'm going to go Warriors 28-26. I think around
feels
that.
Like one of those ones.
It's going to be a really close game, but it has the feel of if we drop this game, obviously due course, we don't want to get blown out, but if we drop this game by a couple of point margin, 6 points, something like that, it kind of can be expected. But I think it's going to be a real close one.
Yeah, I think shout out to George Todd. I think it's going to be
that's pretty close.
A high scoring one. It's just one of those ones. Thanks, Jazz. As well, Saturday 17-26, partly cloud, chance of showers in the morning. Like, yeah, I think if it's it's just one of the, and they're coming off the bye. I think.
Yeah. I know they played last week. They played last week. Yeah.
Oh, did they play? Oh, sorry. Oh, that don't take that into effect, but okay, the Dolphin, what called the Dolphin, Miami. Miles by 4.
Miles by 4.
I love it. There it is.
That's great.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Like I say, for me, Suncorp's one of the best games. I just love Warriors playing at Suncorp. That has just
100, bro.
It's the SJ game, and actually even before that, basketball. Sione Faumuina, I think, was at Suncorp. Those were some of the best Warriors games too. There's just something about playing in Brisbane. At Suncorp, it's just great to watch the Warriors. So I'm expecting another nail biter, I think, bro. As well. Yeah, I forgot Oppo as well. Don't forget Oppo. For sure. Okay, there you guys have it. We think it's high scoring. We think it's going to be a close one, 50-50.
Yep. 50-50.
Take that as what you can. But look, if we come out again, that might be the best run of away games I've seen in a little while, which would be
100%.
Freaking amazing. Okay, so let's go now into Flag and Cup. And I think the person who was asking about Flag and specifically Jet Cleary, I thought he's starting to flourish a little bit. He's starting to have some really good moments.
He is.
What did you make of him? And I think we lost, from what I remember, ever so slightly or whatever. But what did you make of that performance from Jet and the team overall?
Yeah, overall, a Raiders side that obviously blew us out to start the season. We brought this one really, really close. 32-28, we lost this game. We were down at halftime, 22-12, and we brought it back and we made it really, really close. I thought Jet Cleary, again, just consistently finding really good moments in the game as a halfback, directing the boys around the park. His goal kicking is incredible, went 4 from 5. There was some tough ones there too, so he did really well there. And the boys had to deal with a sin bin from Harry Durbin mid part of the game. So the boys really stuck it out, almost came home with it. I think it was... they rushed it late with a Brendan Norris try and they almost tried to get back off the back of that, but unfortunately wasn't able to go their way. But Jet's doing really well. And this was our second time we're seeing the halves pairing with him and Jack Thompson, who I really like as well. I thought Jack Thompson was okay. Jet Cleary was definitely the more dominant half out there and he got the boys around the park where they needed to go. The names I want to bring up out of this game, Brendan Norris, the new center winger we just brought over. We brought him from Brisbane, apparently, the backstory to him from memory. Guys, if anyone knows the full story, let me know, but I'm pretty sure the rumor I heard, we got him from Brisbane. He looks very, very talented. He's quick. tackle breakability. He honestly, when he turned it on, when he chose to run, there was not too many people stopping him in that Raiders side. The Raiders center wing duos that they have there is like one of the best, development ones that they've had in the competition. So very, very talented. The last name I want to bring up as well is also our fullback, Joseph Ratcliffe. And, we would have known him from our Harrod match year last year. So he's still really young, really green. But man, this kid, he has just this little image of like a Reece Walsh type of player. He must envision himself very similar to a Reece Walsh. Loves to dart that real sweeping shape out the back. Burns that first defender. Loves the cutout ball. He had a lot of nice moments. Didn't get on the try sheet or anything in this game, but some of these moments, and the more I see out of him, the more I'm kind of envisioning, he's like a mold of like what a Reece Walsh character is. So continue to watch out for him. We've got a couple of good ones, junior depth that we have with Lamana, now that we have with him as well. I'm very, very curious to see the more out of him in the future.
Oh, that's great. Like to see some of the talent, and that we're becoming a base for other Aussie talent. That was never the case from my understanding. And now we've really broadened our scope of what development actually is. Development is not just New Zealand talent. It can be bigger, which is great. I love to see that. Just quickly going back to the Cup boys, who dominated and destroyed, and they had a great game as well. Who were your highlights from that performance? Who stood out for you? Lussick with the hat trick. Lussick looks like he's put on some size. He might be ready for a call up as a front rower. What did you make of that game, and who are your standouts?
Yeah, bro. He so 46-30, we won this game. And majority of the 46 points we put on in that first half. The Raiders actually brought it back 30 points in the second half. We went into halftime 32-0 and just looked so dominant in this game. And then the Raiders kind of just nicked it back with a lot of momentum in the back end of the game. But you're right, Freddie Lussick, bro, 3 tries, almost got 4 from a memory. Like he was just on, especially, that one pass out of dummy half crashing over. Like, man, He's turned into that real hard-working, that modern-day prop forward, smaller body, but just leg speed. Man, like, this performance is great from him, bro. Shout out to him. But the guy that really impressed me in this game, like, Setzer 2 looked great. Turner Boyd, as always, and Tamane Martin, again, connecting really well. But Kayla's Fateh Lofa, bro.
Yeah.
Speed, power in that edge back row body. I feel like at a click he could play center too in the future with that top end speed that he has. We've seen it early on in the year. But Fateh Lofa, bro, I'm very curious to see more and more out of him. He's really, really talented. I thought that he had an incredible game in this one. Would he get a 3-piece in this game as well? So shout out to him. And a little sneaky one. Obviously, you got the big names. Tom Ale had a great game in this one, I thought anyway. Salah Lilo, I thought that he played a really good game. But Dion Amituanai, I just want to continue,
Dion.
Just a really consistent winger that's doing a really good job defensively. He picks the right moments. He always seems to pull a shot off. I think he created a couple of errors in this game too. So I want to shout him out as well. And lastly, Myla Graham-Tolfa. I think the last couple of weeks he's been on fire in Cup. So it wouldn't surprise me that this might be a late change coming to the weekend as we discussed before. So shout out to him. But those are the names that are stepping out for me in the Cup side.
That'd be great to see him while I trust him. I trust the kid.
Yeah,
I think he can play, so I've got no issue with that. But yeah, I mean, Lussick, I know the Lussick option is still, it gives you a middle defender with hooker option.
Yes.
See, I would have preferred probably Lussick over Tamaide in that spot because he can play in the middle, defend it, and he can give you the hooker. Because he actually saw Tamaide actually started playing a dummy half, so it kind of once he got tired, he had to actually just go into dummy half and play in that role. And so I actually prefer if Lussick came in, and I'm not to discredit Healy. I think you can go with Healy for sure. But there's an argument for Lussick with his size and how he's running at the moment. He can still, he's still a hooker technically by trade. So
he is.
That might be another option too down the line. But I mean, we'll wait and see.
I think that's why he kind of jumped into that role, bro. And shout out to him. He's definitely taken it with both hands, and he's actually looked really good in that position. So shout out to him.
And yeah, this is a good one too, Jazz. I do when I watch the Cowboys. Ami Tuano stands out and has consistent games. So
Yeah.
I mean, he might be one to really watch out for. Just quickly, Jazz question: anyone heard any updates on Ed Cossey's injury and ETA? It is a broken sternum or something. It says chest or pec on the injury list.
Yeah,
I
it
haven't seen
does.
anything more. Have you heard anything? Any reports on
The
our man Koss?
first rumor I had was a broken collarbone. But that turned into a chest injury. So I have no clue what kind of happened in between there. He shout out to Kossi too. He did that, I think, 15 minutes left in that Cowboys game. And he played all the way through it. So shout out to Ed. Did a great job there. But round 12 to 13
Oh,
is
round
him due
14 it
back.
says. Sorry,
Is it round
it says
14
round
now?
14. Just on the
Yep.
NRL injury list. So maybe that's
Yeah. On the
updated.
latest Warriors one, they put up 7:51 p.m. So, very recently. They've got round 12 to 13 here. So maybe that could be in a little updated one as well.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I actually looked for Cossey's one. It wasn't. There was a TBC this afternoon, so they've got round 14. But
Yep.
maybe the club site's saying earlier, but that's not too bad. Maybe it was just what can you do with the chest? It's like a strain or a puncture. I'm not sure what it would have been.
Yeah, it could have been that. Like, it would have said ribbed if it was a rib cartilage issue or anything like that. Yeah, so I don't
Just see,
know.
official Harris one says pectoral. That's
Yeah,
a definitely a tear. Chest,
could be a
yeah, I don't know.
sternum, like a sternum injury, as it's
Sternum,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
brought up
sternum
here.
injury.
Could be
Yeah,
a
the
sternum.
actual sternum. Yeah.
But when I saw it, he
Um,
carried his shoulder a little bit. That's what made me think that, like, when I heard broken collarbone, I was like, yeah, I can see
mm,
it. But yeah,
yeah.
that changed real quick. But shout out to I got the report up here too. Bunty Afoa back in round 12 with the knee injury. I think that was an earlier question there. Bunty jumping up and down with the knee injury. It's not as bad as what everyone thinks. Obviously, round 12, he could be due back. Rocco Berry is back round 14, 15. Jackson Ford, round 12. Ed Gossi, 12 and 13. And Ali Leotoa, round 13, 14.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. These aren't long term injuries. A lot of them. Look, you got
No.
technically Roger. If Roger plays this week, that's 2 knockdown. Fish, Leotoa's around the corner. Rocco's around the corner. Ed. That's what I'm saying. You got this feeling like if we can nail a few wins here, sets you up for a good run. I think on average a guy gets injured once a season. Knock
Yeah.
on wood. That means all the starters we should have them by around 15, 16, ready to go on that last run. So I think I feel pretty confident that we're gonna be in a good one. But there are guys that will there are some other guys as well. So you never know. It always around the corner. Knock on wood. Don't want anyone from our halves or anything like that. So
Knocking on it, baby.
okay, guys, that wraps up the show. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Appreciate especially everyone in the super chats. Norpeter, I hope someone got him an XL jersey if he's still around. Those are they're like
Those
hotcakes right
jerseys,
now.
bro.
Yeah. Mel, thank you again for popping in. Bruce, and then Bruce with the 5 gifted. So those 5 people, please, and I know you have, but enjoy your membership. We look forward to spending some more time with you guys over the next month. And Strictly as well. We'll do anything that you ask us to do next time. We'll list the whole who we got next week. We got the is it Raiders next week?
No,
Is
it Raiders?
Sorry, yeah. We'll put all Raiders, and then we'll wait for you to come in and say change the whole lot for $100.
$20 is $20, boys.
Yeah, $20 is $20. Nah, but love it, man. Appreciate it, bro. 82 likes. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, before you leave, let's just try to get to 100 if we can. Player list my cost, absolutely.
Yeah.
But guys, no watch along. Me and Ash are busy on Saturday, but enjoy the game. We'll try and do some content. Ash is going to be at the game, bro. Where are you sitting?
Yes.
Actually, you sitting on the south stand, north, east, west?
Oh, I can't remember. Row 333. So that's towards the Caxton end. So I'll be down the Caxton end more than likely. You'll see me around if you go see me there. I'll be down Caxton Street and stuff like that. So, guys, yeah, row 333. The section 333. Sorry, and I think
How tall are you,
13
Ash?
rows back. I'm 6'1".
He's a pretty tall man, so he'll stand out. He's going to have his Warriors jersey. You're going to have your Warriors jersey.
I will, bro.
Look,
I will.
Redheaded man. You should be all right.
This damn redhead.
But go show some love to the brother, man. You know, I know you had a good time at the meet and greet at the Magic. That was good too. So no doubt you met some more people. You might see them at the game, which is always cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out everyone again. Sorry,
before we go to, bro, I want to shout out a guy that hit me up on, or I hit up on TikTok, and he's given me a free little goodie. So I'm just gonna bring it up now. I end up reposting it on my TikTok, guys. If you aren't on my TikTok, on Ash Thomas on TikTok, go check us out. But one of his TikToks is called @drawpass. So @DRAWPASS. So you'll get to see his player of the weeks. He draws and he sells them on the side. And also the man's actual name is on TikTok, CUTHRR. He has a website connected to his TikTok. Go check out the website, guys. He draws anime stuff and also draws all footy stuff. There's a Luke Metcalf one coming my way. I'll do an unboxing and all that for him. But I just wanted to shout him out because he just out of nowhere just like, oh, bro, like I'll send you it. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. Like, and yeah, just an amazing guy. So go support the community, eh?
Check that out, guys. Just lastly, Ash, your show tomorrow with what time will that be roughly? Is it 7-ish New Zealand time, or 7:30-ish?
Yeah, so it'd be 5 o'clock our time. So I think you guys are 2 hours ahead, eh? So 5 o'clock Australian time, 7 o'clock New Zealand time. Come over, talk some footy, and then Thursday night we got our Supercoach show again. If you want to get any Supercoach tips and that. So had a really good week in Supercoach. So I'll be cheering.
Bro, go check out the Supercoach show as well, man. Ash is killing it too in the Wires Up TV. Thank Jose, if you're there, you've faded a little bit, brother. You need to get yourself back up. I'm still I'm still mid-table at the bottom, kind of trying to find my way through. But we'll see how I go. I'm learning. I'm having heaps of fun though.
100%.
But yeah, guys, check out those shows. Down Unders tomorrow night, and the Supercoach show as well on Thursday. But have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Members show Monday. We'll be back. But expect some content throughout the week. And we appreciate everyone's support, man. And to everyone that's members and anyone that's been watching, thank you very much. Have a great night. Up the wires. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your week. Peace.
Up the wires.